40 trucks crossed into the Arizona desert under the cover of darkness. Not one made it out. This wasn't a drug bust. It was a coordinated, multi-domain military operation, the kind of thing reserved for high-value targets and international-level threats. Because that's exactly what it was. The Sinaloa cartel sent a heavily armed convoy loaded with meth, fentanyl, weapons, and millions in cash into U.S. territory, fully expecting to move undetected. They were wrong. For days, U.S. military forces had been watching.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
Not just from the sky, but from the ground, underground, and inside the very terrain the convoy drove over. Seismic sensors embedded in the earth picked up every vibration. MQ-9 Reaper drones scanned heat signatures. Infrared cameras tracked nighttime movements. Every single route the convoy considered was mapped in real time. Every decision, every pause, every shift, it was all recorded. The convoy didn't just roll into an ambush. It drove straight into a trap that had been built around it, piece by piece. And the military, they didn't rush in. They waited. Hours. Days. They could have engaged at any time. But instead, they held the line, letting the cartel move deeper, narrowing their escape options. Because the goal wasn't just to take them out, it was to do it with precision, with timing, with absolute control. At exactly 11:47 p.m., the final truck entered a narrow canyon, one way in, no way out. The kill zone. That's when everything changed. Explosives were triggered, artillery opened up, and the night lit up with firepower from ground troops and overhead aircraft. A coordinated assault from multiple platforms overwhelmed the convoy almost instantly. SEAL Team 6 executed ground maneuvers while AC-130 gunships rained down support from above. Drones stayed overhead, feeding live intel, tracking movements, and confirming targets. The response was seamless, and within minutes, chaos turned into silence. The operation didn't just destroy dozens of vehicles. It eliminated dozens of cartel fighters. But it wasn't about the body count. The real objective. El Gallo, a senior lieutenant in the Sinaloa cartel, El Gallo wasn't just another name on a watch list. He was operational leadership, a key link in the cartel's supply chain, overseeing logistics, transportation, and cross-border operations. And he was in that convoy. Unlike the rest, El Gallo was marked for capture. The military used micro-drones and infrared to isolate his exact location amid the firefight. While the rest of the convoy was being neutralized, ground forces zeroed in. He was taken alive. Capturing El Gallo wasn't just a win, it was strategic leverage. A live, high-value target means intel. Real-time access to networks, contacts, safe houses, encryption methods, trafficking routes. His arrest sparked immediate disruption. Within hours, other cells went silent. Comm channels dropped. Cartel operatives pulled back. And all of that started with one ambush. The convoy's destruction also yielded massive material and intelligence gains. Millions of dollars in cash. Stockpiles of narcotics, advanced weapons, but most importantly encrypted phones and laptops. These weren't random burner devices. These were operational tools containing key data on cartel logistics, financials, internal communications, and scheduling. U.S. analysts now had the keys to unlock months, maybe years of cartel movement data. Routes, aliases, supplier lists, digital trails. The damage to the organization wasn't just physical, it was structural. None of this happened by chance. The terrain was chosen deliberately. A narrow canyon with high cliffs and one entrance perfect for containment. By embedding sensors in the ground and controlling the geography, U.S. forces effectively created a kill box. Once the trucks were in, there was no exit. The terrain itself became part of the strategy, forcing the convoy into a choke point where every movement could be predicted and countered. The use of electronic warfare only deepened the blow. Communications were jammed as the assault began. Radios failed. Cell networks were disabled. The convoy was cut off from external support. No backup. No escape plan. Just confusion. Chaos. Silence. That electronic silence created a second battlefield, one of information. The cartel couldn't coordinate a counterstrike. Couldn't warn others. Couldn't regroup. It was complete disruption. Total domination across physical and digital lines. And the impact. Immediate. This wasn't just a tactical win, it was psychological warfare. For years, cartels operated under the assumption that deep terrain gave them the upper hand, that moving in large formations through remote areas provided cover, This operation destroyed that illusion. It sent a clear message. Not only can US forces track your every move, they can choose exactly when and
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
where to strike. And when they do, you won't see it coming. The ripple effect of that reality is enormous. Cartel leadership now has to rethink strategy. No more guaranteed safe routes. No more assumption of territorial dominance. Every future convoy now carries a new risk, that it, too, is being watched. This ambush marked a strategic shift in how the US approaches organized crime. It proved that counter-cartel operations don't have to be reactive. They can be proactive, surgical, multi-dimensional. Ground forces don't need to chase, they can wait. And when the time is right, they can strike with overwhelming force. It also showed how far military intelligence has come. Surveillance tech isn't just a support tool, it's the operation itself. The ability to track movement over days, map behavior, interpret data in real time, and feed it directly to combat teams is what made this mission possible. And patience. That was the most powerful weapon of all. By waiting for the exact right moment, US forces controlled every variable. No surprises, no improvisation, just clean execution. That patience is what separated this operation from a firefight and turned it into a strategic masterpiece. The implications are huge. With this success, future interdictions are likely to follow this blueprint. Long-term surveillance, embedded tech, psychological misdirection, multi-domain coordination, captures, not just kills. And it signals a broader shift. Not just defending the border but penetrating deep into the logistics that support drug empires. Not just reacting to supply but cutting it off before it moves. That's the future. What happened in that canyon wasn't just a raid, it was a warning. One that cartels across the hemisphere are now hearing loud and clear. If you're still here, hit that like button to support content that brings you real stories that matter. Share this video with someone who needs to know what's really happening on the front lines of modern enforcement. Subscribe for more no-spin breakdowns. And drop a comment below. Do you think this strategy should become the new standard? We'll be watching. This wasn't some fluke. This wasn't a lucky break. This was deliberate, methodical, and years in the making. A high-value Sinaloa convoy didn't just get intercepted, it got dissected. And the reason this ambush is now being studied behind closed doors across multiple agencies. Because it changed the game. You don't just erase 40 cartel trucks from existence without making every other cartel boss sit up and start checking over their shoulder. What happened in that canyon wasn't just a military win, it was a strategic proof of concept. A live demonstration that when the US applies its full technological and tactical capacity, even the most deeply embedded criminal networks can be exposed, cornered, and dismantled. This was a message, not bark, bite. Let's talk about the kill zone again, because it wasn't chosen randomly. The canyon wasn't just geographically advantageous, it was a force multiplier. High cliffs on both sides, no side roads, limited visibility, a natural bottleneck. Once the convoy was inside, the cartel fighters were essentially sealed in with nowhere to run, and no way to fight back effectively. The terrain was used as a weapon, and the military leveraged it to deliver maximum damage with surgical efficiency. And again, the timing 11:47 p.m. not a coincidence. That's the kind of detail that tells you just how tight the coordination was. Not a second too soon, not a second too late. The entire mission was built on hours of restraint, surveillance, and analysis, just to strike at the exact moment that every piece was where it needed to be. That kind of patience doesn't just reduce risk, it guarantees impact. What made this operation different wasn't just firepower. It was intelligence integration. The military had more than just eyes on the convoy, they had its rhythm. They had patterns, communication intercepts, movement habits. They knew who was riding where, who was leading the formation, and what was inside the trucks. That's the level of prep it takes to pull off something this clean. And let's not gloss over the fact that SEAL Team 6 was deployed. That's not routine. That's not standard protocol for drug seizures. That's the kind of move you make when the objective is big, like destabilize an empire big. Their role wasn't just to engage, they were sent in for one reason, El Gallo. Because capturing a senior lieutenant alive is 10 times more valuable than recovering cash or cargo. And getting him without a drawn-out standoff, that's priceless. You can destroy drugs and cash all day, but if you want to dismantle an organization like Sinaloa, you have to target the architecture. That's what El Gallo represented, a walking keycard to the inner workings of cartel operations. You don't just kill that kind of access, you extract it, use it, turn it against them, which is exactly what happened. The ripple effects of his capture were immediate. Communications across Sinaloa networks went into a tailspin. Routes were scrambled. Couriers were grounded. Informants were pulled. It wasn't just a hit to their resources, it was a rupture in their command structure. Suddenly, no one could be sure who was compromised, who was next, or how much El Gallo knew. And let's not underestimate the power of data seizure. Encrypted phones, laptops, GPS devices, all recovered from the wreckage. These aren't just props. These are strategic gold mines. Because every device has metadata. Every message leaves a trail. Every connection leads to more nodes in the network. Safe houses, middlemen, payment systems, even law enforcement moles, in some cases. This kind of digital intel doesn't just help with prosecutions, it leads to more operations, more seizures, more captures, more fractures inside an organization that relies on secrecy like oxygen. The drugs seized were massive. Meth, fentanyl, enough to poison communities for months. The kind of weight that funds wars, bribes officials, and keeps a black market infrastructure running. But even that wasn't the headline. The real win was showing that the US doesn't need to play whack-a-mole at the border anymore. It can step ahead of the problem. Wait, watch, strike. And it raises serious questions for the cartels. If a convoy of this scale can be taken out this decisively with their tech jammed, their leadership captured, and their assets obliterated, what's stopping it from happening again? The psychological toll of that question, huge. Cartels operate on fear, intimidation, control. They don't just push drugs, they build mythologies around being untouchable. But this shattered that illusion. It told every runner, every driver, every mid-level boss, you're not safe. You're being watched, and when they come for you, you won't hear it coming. Even more devastating is what this means for other cartels watching from the sidelines. This wasn't just a hit on Sinaloa, it was a warning shot to every other organization moving product across the border. If you think your routes are secure, your lieutenants protected, your tech encrypted, you're wrong. The US just pulled off an operation that proved it can see through all of it. And they didn't have to cross a single international border to do it. That's another point worth hammering. This happened on US soil. The implication: the days of thinking once it's past the border, it's too late are officially over. The military is showing it can wait until the right moment, even if that moment is deep inside American territory, and still deliver a fatal blow to an operation that took months to plan. There's also a long-term narrative shift here. For decades, the focus has been on building walls, increasing patrols, and intercepting smugglers at the physical line. But what this operation showed is that intelligence is the real wall. Surveillance, analysis, technology, patience. The future of border security might not even happen at the border, it'll happen in quiet command centers, on drone feeds, and in encrypted data logs. And if the goal is to stop these networks from poisoning American communities, this is how it's done. Because when you eliminate the product and capture the leadership and break open their communications channels before they hit distribution centers, that's how you dismantle the whole machine, not just slow it down, end it. And there's no going back after something like this. The standard has been raised, the model has changed, and the people who used to move with impunity are now moving in fear, which, honestly, is long overdue. The aftermath of that night, 11:47 p.m., when the lights went out on that convoy, didn't just echo through the canyon. It hit command rooms in Mexico. It reached traffickers operating in cities across the US. And it sparked quiet panic among people who've long assumed they could move through the shadows, untouched and unseen. That illusion, gone. And the ripple effects of this operation are only just starting. Because when a high-value cartel target like El Gallo gets picked up alive, there's no such thing as business as usual anymore. Every meeting gets postponed. Every burner phone gets tossed. Every low-level operative starts asking the one question that shatters an entire command structure: who's next? You don't need to dismantle an entire cartel in one strike, you just have to hit hard enough that the structure starts eating itself from the inside. That's what fear does. That's what not knowing does. And let's talk about what a mission like this does to morale inside those criminal organizations. The cartel model is built on three things: loyalty, money, and myth. The loyalty part, that cracks when leadership gets picked off. The money, that slows when shipments like this get vaporized. And the myth that they're too powerful, too connected, too far ahead of the game. This mission just tore that to pieces. No sirens, No helicopters buzzing ahead of time. No high-speed chases. Just total control, from the first movement to the final shot. And the psychological impact goes even further. Think about the cartel lieutenants, traffickers, and financiers watching this unfold. Seeing a convoy of this scale get wiped out, no leaks, no warning, no survivors, and knowing the US was willing to wait days, silently, to get the timing perfect, that's devastating. It tells them, this isn't the same game anymore. Because they've always assumed the US would move fast, act loud, or maybe not act at all. That patience, that was unexpected. That restraint, unnerving. It means this wasn't about making a headline, it was about sending a shockwave through the criminal underworld. And El Gallo's capture. That was the masterstroke. Not only does he represent a treasure trove of actionable intelligence, but his very existence in custody shakes the tree. Everyone he worked with now has to assume he's cooperating. Every text he sent, every deal he helped broker, it's all under review. His relationships, his supply chains, his contacts flashing like warning lights across cartel dashboards right now. Even if he doesn't say a word, the possibility is enough to trigger panic. This is how you win a psychological war. And let's not ignore the deeper strategic takeaway. The US didn't just use firepower, they used silence as a weapon. They created a space where the enemy didn't even know they were being hunted. They let the convoy fall into a sense of false security, surrounded them with invisible surveillance, and then closed the trap when escape was no longer an option. Electronic warfare shut down their communications. Jammers blocked their calls. No help was coming. No one even knew they were under attack until it was too late. That level of tactical isolation, that's modern warfare. It's a reminder that the battlefield isn't always where the bullets fly. Sometimes it's in the data, in the wait, in the choice to hold fire until every variable is in your favor. This operation didn't just neutralize a target. It proved that US forces could dominate across multiple dimensions: air, ground, electronic, and psychological. And that's the part that other criminal networks are paying attention to right now. And that shift, that is how you win this fight. Thanks for sticking through the full breakdown. If you think more people should be hearing about what's really happening in the fight against organized crime, hit that like button. Share this video with someone who still thinks the cartels are always 2 steps ahead. Subscribe for more raw, real, and detailed looks behind the scenes, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Is this the future of interdiction, or just the beginning? Let's talk. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, you're officially part of the small percentage of people who don't just click away, and that means a lot. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me your thoughts, your ideas, or even what you'd like to see next. I read every single one of them, and your feedback genuinely shapes the direction of this channel. If you enjoyed the video, tap that like button. It tells YouTube this content is worth sharing. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next upload. We've got more exciting videos coming, and trust me, you'll want to be here for them. This channel is just getting started, and your support helps it grow faster than you realize. Thank you again for spending a part of your day here with me. Stay curious, stay motivated, and as always, take care of yourself. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video.